We come alive in the nighttime. Something about how we dance.
This is Night Shift Nutrition with Bella Peachy. Sorry it's been such a long time between episodes. There was a few teething issues. I've changed the name of the podcast as well. So it used to be Night Shift Nutritionist, but these things happen. You start with a concept and an idea and things evolve. So I think I'm a little bit happier with Night Shift Nutrition because nutritionist was a bit of a mouthful. So anyway, thanks for sticking around. All right, so it's Friday night and I'm at home making a podcast for you. I am on my cycle, so I've got my little TENS machine. I really recommend menstruating people to get one of these because honestly, I don't even feel the cramps at all. I don't get a lot of cramps anyway. I'm actually a lot better on my period than I am on my luteal phase for some reason. My luteal seems to be my most horrible phase. And if you tune into my first episode, I went through all the phases in the cycle. So anyway, definitely recommend you get a little TENS machine. All right, so what are we talking about this week? Okay, so we're going to talk about iron. So iron in my clinical experience is one of the biggest nutritional deficiencies I see in women. So why is iron important and what does it do in the body? Okay, so basically iron helps your red blood cells transport oxygen around the body. So it's incredibly important for your muscles, it's incredibly important for your brain. It's incredibly important for energy production. And it also plays a role in healthy hair and nails. When your iron gets low, basically, your cells just don't have enough oxygen to perform their job and everything slows down in the body, basically. So what are some signs of low iron? The classic ones are fatigue, constant tiredness, even after getting a full night's sleep. If you're still waking really fatigued, that can be a sign of iron deficiency. Pale skin, also some clearness. When I say clearness, like your skin gets kind of translucent under the eyes. Pale under the eyelids can also be a sign of deficiency. Shortness of breath, fast heart rate, so tachycardia. Feeling dizzy. A lot of women say that they get dizzy in the shower because, the hot water changes the blood pressure. So, having low blood pressure and feeling dizzy can also be a sign. Losing your hair, brittle nails, headaches is definitely something that's overlooked by a lot of GPs. Iron deficiency can definitely cause headaches. Brain fog, poor concentration, absolutely. So iron definitely plays a role in the energy cells of the brain and neurotransmitter production as well. I mentioned this in my previous podcast, but the body is a little bit silly. And unfortunately, when you're already iron deficient, the body will actually bleed heavier. So heavy periods are also a sign of iron deficiency. The purpose of this podcast today is to be able to give you your autonomy back to be able to read your own blood test. Unfortunately, and it's not because doctors are bad, doctors see you for 10 minutes, they miss things, lots of practitioners miss things. This information will allow you to be able to read your own iron blood work and know when you need to do something about it. But I want you to be able to read your own blood test. I'm going to give you a little cheat sheet for how you can read it. And I'm going to give you a really cool analogy that helped me when I was doing my study to learn. It's also really important that when you do get your iron tested, that you ask for a full iron studies. It is not enough for the doctor to take iron or ferritin. Those two things alone are not going to give you the full picture, okay? So what does it mean? All right, so when you get ferritin tested, ferritin is kind of like your storage cage for iron, right? So your body will store your spare iron there. That's kind of like your backup iron. You need that kind of to be in a good storage situation, okay? So in Australia, because blood test ranges are different in different places, but basically I like to see that at about 100. It gets kind of dangerous when you get down to your 30s and stuff. Like that's not enough storage for you because let's say you do have a really heavy period or, there's lots of things that could really just deplete that storage really, really quickly, and you just don't want that to happen. So about 100 for women. You also don't want it to get too high. Okay, so there is such a thing as it getting too high, and that can also cause problems. So there's a genetic condition called hemochromatosis, where there's a genetic predisposition to hold more iron, and that can also make you really tired. This exact same symptoms of iron deficiency can be a symptom of hemochromatosis. However, what I will say is, in my clinical experience for the last 7 years, women who carry the hemochromatosis gene anyway usually have iron deficiency. So your genes aren't always your fate. It's just a blueprint for what could happen, basically. But it's just something to be mindful of as well, as you don't want it to get too high. All right, so then we've got transferrin. Okay, so I want you to think of transferrin like the bus. All right, so the bus, this takes iron from your storage to the blood or around the blood or where it needs to go, carries iron around, because that's where it's going to be usable, right? Like it's not getting used in the storage. So if your transferrin goes up, it's because your body is trying to get iron from the storage and get lots of different buses to take it around, okay? If you've got plenty of iron, you don't need as many buses, but your body will make more buses if there's not enough iron in the storage, because it's looking for some iron to take around, basically. So you don't want this too high either. So that can be a sign that you've got low iron. All right, then you've got transferrin saturation. So this is how full the buses get, right? So if it's low, basically there's lots of empty seats because there's not enough iron to put on the bus, basically. And if it's too high, obviously the buses are overloaded. Okay, so you don't want that to be too high or too low either. You just want it to be within normal range. All right, so serum iron. So this is where the iron is actually usable. So you want this at a good level, and there's a very, very small reference range for iron. So you want this to be within its range. You don't want it to be too high, and obviously you don't want it to be too low. This can change. This number, the iron in your blood, the serum iron, that can change to a number of different factors. So you just want to be mindful that if the doctor's only testing your serum iron, it's not relevant enough. You need the full picture for, to make sure you don't have iron deficiency. And a good doctor will look at them all together and make their assessment about iron deficiencies. You can actually spot iron deficiency before it begins. So that's how you can read your own results. I will give you a little cheat sheet, so make sure you download it after this episode. So just a little recap. Ferritin, storage. Transferrin, buses. Saturation, how many seats are full or empty. And serum iron, actual usable iron by your body. Okay? All right, so let's say that your ferritin is low. All right? I like to do things naturally first. I like to do things with diet, and I'll tell you why. Because when you eat iron, you are eating it in a whole food that also contains its cofactor vitamins. So technically, the body can recognize it easily. It should be absorbed really well. When you take a supplement, sometimes the body doesn't know what to do with it. There's so many factors at play when you take a supplement, because genetically, some people absorb different types of iron. So iron can be attached to a different molecule. So for example, you can have iron glycinate, you can have iron sulfate, and it really depends on your individual genetics and other factors, whether you're going to absorb that iron or that iron supplement is going to cause more oxidative damage in your body. Because remember, iron is a heavy metal. If the body doesn't know what to do with it, it's going to rust in your body. It's going to cause oxidative damage and damage your organs, basically. That's why some people who've haven't tested properly and are just taking iron supplements end up with, stuffed kidneys and liver because, they've damaged it accidentally with this iron. So it's always better to do it with a whole food. Okay? Now, it's not enough to just eat your iron foods, okay? There's a few things you need to do to make sure you are going to get that iron from that food. Because remember, you're not what you eat, you are what you digest, absorb. Okay? So, what are you going to do? You're going to eat your iron foods, which are going to what the best iron foods are. You need enough stomach acid when you've got a protein, especially a red meat. It's hard to digest, right? You need to increase your stomach acid to be able to digest that and absorb that. So what are you going to do? You are going to have bitter foods. Not many people like bitter foods. Okay, but you need them. You need them to absorb your iron, okay? So things like rocket, radicchio, cabbage, lemon juice, apple cider vinegar is really good. You can take some digestive enzymes as well, but why do that? When we have such natural resources available, make yourself a little rocket, radicchio, lemon juice, put a bit of parmesan on if you want. Have yourself a little salad. This is what the Mediterraneans do anyway. They always have a little starter bitter salad before they have their protein. So have your little salad and then eat your iron containing foods. Okay? So you're going to increase your stomach acid. Then there's some things you're also going to do. You are going to cut out wheat. Maybe not forever, but for a little while, especially if you are really deficient, okay? Because wheat blocks absorption of iron, okay? That's just the reality. Whether you're wheat intolerant or not, the lectins in wheat, especially in Australia, because we make our wheat really fast, we make our wheat products way too quickly, it's going to be very high in lectins. So I want you to cut out wheat for a little while, okay? That doesn't mean I want you to go and buy a heap of gluten-free products either, because that is not going to do you any good. Just cut out the wheat for a little while, Eat some potatoes or something instead if you need carbohydrates or rice noodles or whatever. You can eat some other things, but take the wheat out for a short amount of time. The next thing you're going to do, you're going to reduce caffeine, okay? So the liver only has certain pathways for uptake, and unfortunately, caffeine is one of those things that blocks absorption of iron. That's why so many people who are drinking, like 5 cups of coffee a day, all these teas, they don't realize they're actually blocking the absorption of their iron. So you need to cut down the caffeine if you can. If you can take it out completely, great, just for a little while. But your iron absorption is actually the highest in the morning, which is really hard, isn't it? Because most people wake up and have their coffee. Most people wake up and have their coffee and then they take their iron supplement, which is just useless. You're just basically wasting your supplement. You're wasting your money. You need to either time your iron supplement. There's an enzyme that is highest in the morning. It's called hepcidin, which it's like a gate that allows the iron to be absorbed. And that's actually highest in the morning. So I do usually recommend taking your iron supplement in the morning away from caffeine, at least a few hours, just to be sure. Okay, so that's what you're also going to do. All right, so we've improved stomach acid. We have taken out a few barriers to change. There's also dairy will also block absorption of iron, so cut down some dairy as well. Okay, so make sure you're not eating a ton of cheese with your steak and that type of thing. So we've improved stomach acid. We've taken out barriers to change, so barriers for our body to be able to absorb the iron. The next thing we need to do is take care of the gut bacteria, okay? So like I said, it's not enough to just eat it. We have to digest, absorb. So we're digesting in the stomach and we're absorbing in the gut, okay? Now, there has been some new studies, which are great, around a probiotic called Lactobacillus plantarum that helps you absorb iron. So I would go out and get one of those probiotics, a good quality one, find Lactobacillus plantarum. And you want to look at foods that are going to give you the most bang for your buck, okay? Sorry, vegetarians, vegans, but the best food you can eat is liver pate or liver. Okay. So I really like liver pate. There's a really good brand called Awfully Good. So you can just buy that off the shelf. There's lots of other brands, or you can make it yourself. It's really cheap and easy to make. The other thing I do is I buy frozen liver and I keep it in my freezer and I grate it into some of my other foods. So if I'm making, for example, a stew or a soup or whatever, I will just grate a bit of liver in, or you can put it through burger patties, you can put it through meatballs. You will not taste it, I promise. And even just that little bit of liver through your food is going to make such a huge difference because it's like 20 times more iron than just your red meat. Okay, so that's a really good one. You also want to increase your vitamin C foods. So things like kiwi fruit, capsicum, lots of vegetables have good vitamin C's. Citrus fruit, it depends on the season, like, just eat seasonally, but, increasing some of your vitamin C. You can take vitamin C, and I like making my own vitamin C gummies. The reason I like making my own is because when you buy a vitamin C chewable or vitamin C from the chemist, it's usually 1,000 milligrams. Now that's really good if you're sick, but it's not so good if you need to increase your iron or make neurotransmitters, for example. Your body needs a very small amount of vitamin C per dose. So typically about 200, 250 milligrams. So say, for example, you buy a chewable, it's 1,000 milligrams. You would want to cut that into 4, and you would want to ideally chew that throughout the day if you can remember. I like making my own, so I just buy the vitamin C powder from the chemist. I make sure I do the dose into my gummies, bit of organic juice, bit of cold pressed organic juice, and I then, pour it into molds or cut them into gummies. I will also put the gummy recipe in the show notes. What other supplements can you take? If you're vegetarian, vegan, how else are you going to do this? Because let me tell you something, you're not going to be able to do it. If you are really, really deficient, you are going to have to then take a supplement. Okay, it's just no other way. You are not going to take Ferrograd C. You're not, all right? I don't care if your doctor gave it to you. If you've got that in your house right now, I want you to go throw it in the bin. And I'll tell you why. Because Ferrograd C has 105 milligrams of elemental iron. The body cannot absorb that, all right? You are going to cause yourself oxidative damage with that much iron. It's actually better to go low and slow with iron. So say, for example, a probiotic that also contains the Lactobacillus plantarum and maybe 5 milligrams of an iron biglycinate, much gentler on the gut, right? This is also why a lot of people get constipation with iron, because it's heavy. It's heavy. It's actually sitting in the gut and it can't go anywhere. So you really want to look for things, especially if you're prone to constipation and digestive issues, you want to look for your more gentler forms of iron, okay? So Ferrograd C is out. I don't recommend Ferrograd C for anyone on this planet, basically. If you were severely deficient, I would still give you like maybe 25 milligrams of iron biglycinate because it's much gentler on the gut. And I would make sure that your digestive system was capable of, absorbing it. I would never give anybody 100 milligrams. It doesn't work for anyone, basically. If there's anything I want from this podcast, it is to be able to give you your autonomy to be able to heal yourself, to see the signs, to look at your blood work, to prevent further health issues for yourself. So that's iron in a nutshell, right? How to read your blood work, what to do, how to improve your stomach acid, how to improve your gut bacteria, what foods to eat, what supplements to take, and what supplements not to take. Thanks for listening. And as usual, I'm always open to feedback and any topics you want me to talk about, anything you are struggling with health-wise. My next episode is going to be on the vagina microbe. I am so excited to bring you this episode, so stay tuned. Thanks, guys. Good night.